The dreaded rattle of keys against the door and the turning in the lock hailed the intrusion of 2 masked men in black. 14-year-old Peter shivered and let out a cry as they grabbed and dragged him roughly towards the door. Each man placed a hand on the boy's neck, keeping his head bent such that the floor was all he could see. Their fingers hurt as they dug into his flesh. They walked quickly, their knees bumping his thighs, his arms twisted to encourage pace. Their stale sweat smelled like urine. He was taken along a corridor to a room brightly lit in the centre with dark corners. When they let him go, he could make out what looked like a large tripod. It carried a movable arm, upon which was a camera. His shirt was roughly torn from his body, and his wrists were bound with a zip tied to his front. They put him on a stool, lit from overhead. The heat beat down on him, and he could feel the sweat developing on his chest and back. The man behind the camera used the arm to move it above the top of Peter's head. Then he moved it down his tear-stained face. The mechanical arm moved around, the camera flashing intermittently. Peter looked for the door, but he was surrounded. There had to be at least 6 men. He decided, although some of them inhabited the dark corners and he couldn't be exactly sure how many there were. Too many to take on, and that was for sure. "Tilt his head," the cameraman ordered, his voice deep and gruff. "Let's get a good shot of those tears." Peter steeled himself. If they wanted tears, he wasn't going to give them any. He jutted out his chin in defiance, his pupils huge. "Why are you doing this to me?" he asked in a high-pitched voice, his chest heaving. "Pale, dirty and distressed, this is really good," the cameraman continued, panning and tilting. "You'll go to jail," Peter continued, though he recognised the futility of his words. "Damn, I need to get that angle again," the cameraman peered at his monitor, shaking his head. More hands on the boy, moving him this way and that until the cameraman was happy. "Right, that's it, we can wrap it up." He moved his tripod back. "I think we have everything we need." And that was it. Peter was marched back to his room in the same rough manner he'd been taken from it. After the door closed, he leaned back against the wall and sobbed. The tears were of release and relief that they had done nothing other than film him. "It's very quiet in here." Yvonne placed a mug down in front of her DS, glancing around at CID. "Thank you," Derry said, leaning back in his chair. "Everyone has their head down, Ma'am. We're close to nailing this burglary team." Yvonne nodded. "They've done some great work. When this is over, we should get the office for a meal. I'm thinking maybe the Shalom." "Sounds good." Di Clayton put his phone down and fast-paced over to them, his cheeks unusually ruddy. "Is everything okay?" Yvonne narrowed her eyes, searching his face. "Ma'am, we've had a report of an abduction. A young boy from Welshpool." Di spoke quickly, his eyes darting from Yvonne to Derry and back. "Uniform have headed out there already." Yvonne put both her hands behind her head whilst Derry sat bolt upright. "Give me some detail." The DI took her hands down and reached for her pen. "The boy was estimated to be 12 to 13 and was witnessed being bundled into a van in the Welshpool flea market." "Witnesses?" "Several, ma'am, including a couple who got the van's registration number." "Details of the van?" "They're running the reg number now, ma'am. Should have some details any minute." "What about the boy?" "Not much known about him yet." "Who was he with?" "We don't know. No one has reported him missing." Yvonne and Derry exchanged glances. The DI ran to grab her coat from the back of her chair. "Let's get over there and find out what's going on. I'd like the chance to talk to witnesses. This isn't the first time this week we've been informed of a potential induction. What is going on?" Di's desk phone rang again and he ran to it, frowning as he spoke. "What was that?" Yvonne asked, buttoning her coat and grabbing her bag. Di cleared his throat. "The van reg, ma'am. It's a ghost vehicle. It's registered to a person who's been dead for 3 years." Yvonne rubbed her chin while the facts sunk in. False plates? If they are actual abductions, they're evidently planned. "Come on," she said. "Finally, let's go. Let's talk to witnesses." The market was still going, although it was beginning to wind down. The queues in the metal cattle stalls had dwindled. Some of the stall holders were already packing away their wares. John, Sarah and a few other witnesses were huddled near to the car park, holding enamel mugs of tea that a few kind stall holders had supplied them. Yvonne and Derry waited patiently for them to finish and give their names and statements to a constable. As the PC left, Dewi asked him if copies of the notebook could be sent to CID. The PC nodded. John put an arm round his partner as they related what they had seen to Yvonne and Dewi. "Did you get a good look at the men?" Yvonne asked John. John shook his head. "No, I saw them from behind. I can only tell you that they wore dark clothing and hooded tops. They were wearing their hoods up. I ran as fast as I could, but they had bundled him in and had driven away before I could get there. I just concentrated on remembering the registration and getting that to you. It's all I could do." "Did you hear any names called out?" Dewi asked. "No, none." "What convinced you this was an abduction?" John pulled a face. "Well, the way the boy was lifted and carried. I'm sure he was struggling. The men seemed to have difficulty holding him." "But you were some distance away?" John nodded. "I was. I couldn't see their faces. I didn't see the boy's face either. But I'm positive he did not want to be taken into that van." "Thank you." Yvonne smiled at John and Sarah. "It was very quick thinking of you to get that van's number, and we are very grateful to you for that. You did everything you could. Now it is down to us to find out who that boy is, why he was taken, and get him back home to his family. We may need to see you at the station at some point. Would that be okay?" John nodded. Of course." Yvonne turned to look at the car park. They were very close to the Welshpool bypass. The van could have been on the main road out of the area within 5 minutes, and could have been travelling north or south. "We'll request all local CCTV," Dewi reassured, reading her mind. "What is going on, Dewi? What is going on?" Yvonne rubbed the back of her neck. "I don't know," Dewi sighed, "but I have a feeling we're going to find out." That was Gone, Chapter 6, Abducted.